My name is Helena. Most people think the worst thing a family can hand you is something small and irritating, like a dish you never liked, but are still expected to smile through anyway. Something you swallow politely and forget. My family didn't give me anything like that. They handed me a contract. 18 pages. Thick cream paper. Sitting right next to a glazed roast, like it belonged there. Like it was just another part of dinner. 10 adults around the table, all acting like this was normal. Voices low, careful, almost rehearsed. Above us, that chandelier just kept shining. Too bright, too steady, like it didn't care what was happening underneath it. They thought they knew me. That part still makes me want to laugh a little. The quiet one. The reasonable daughter. The one who usually just agrees to keep things smooth. They forgot something simple. I read for a living. And I don't mean casually. I read everything. Tone, gaps, what people avoid saying more than what they actually say. By the time my hand moved toward the pen, I wasn't even fully aware of why I stopped. I just did. Something in me didn't like the shape of what I was looking at. I'd been alone again for almost a year. Not the dramatic kind of alone people write poems about, just the quiet kind. 11 months of no constant expectations, no walking on emotional eggshells, no trying to predict someone else's mood before I even opened my mouth. My apartment wasn't anything special. Above a laundromat, narrow staircase, walls a bit too thin. In a small coastal town where everything smelled faintly like salt and detergent, depending on the wind. The heater rattled at night. A lot. I got used to it eventually, though some nights I'd still sit up thinking someone was knocking when it was just pipes complaining again. But it was mine. I was 41. Working as a paralegal in a small law office near the courthouse. My days were basically documents, disputes, contracts, arguments wrapped in polite legal language. People think law is about truth. It's not. It's about wording, about what you can make sound acceptable. I got very good at noticing what wasn't said. That Sunday, I was at my kitchen table going through some files when my phone rang. My aunt. She didn't even say hello properly. "Your mother's been quiet," she said. I paused. Quiet is good, isn't it? A small exhale on the other end, not amused. "No, Helena, your mother doesn't do quiet. She plans in quiet." That line stuck with me longer than I wanted it to. I turned the kettle on anyway. Didn't really need tea, just needed something to do with my hands, so I didn't sit there thinking too much. Easter was coming, so of course there would be dinner. There is always dinner. In my family, invitations are just instructions dressed up nicely. I said yes. Of course I did. The 2 weeks before it felt off. Not in a dramatic way, just slightly tilted. Like something had already been arranged and I was late to it without knowing what it even was. Work, home, documents, emails, normal life. But underneath it, that quiet feeling stayed. Like a page had been turned somewhere without me reading it. My aunt called again once. Out of nowhere, she asked, "Have you thought about children?" I remember blinking at that. Not because it was shocking exactly, but because it came out of nowhere, like she was following a script I hadn't been given. "I don't know," I said. "Why?" "Just asking," she replied too quickly. I didn't like that answer, but I let it drop anyway. Easier that way. By the time Easter actually arrived, I already knew something was waiting for me. I just didn't know what. When I pulled into my parents' driveway, the first thing I noticed was the cars. Too many. Not subtle either, just more than a normal family dinner would need. I remember counting them without meaning to, then counting again just to be sure I wasn't overthinking. I wasn't. My mother opened the door before I even knocked properly. Her smile came too fast, hug too tight. A little too long, too, like she was checking if I still fit some version of me she had prepared in her head. Inside, everything looked perfect in that controlled way rich people's houses sometimes do when they're trying too hard. And then I saw it. The folder. Cream-colored. Thick. Sitting next to the roast like it had always belonged there more than I did. My stomach tightened, just slightly. Not panic, not yet. Just recognition of something I didn't trust. We sat. Conversation stayed shallow. Weather, someone's neighbor, something about traffic. The kind of talk that fills space without saying anything real. I barely tasted the food. My hands stayed in my lap. Still, controlled. Because I could feel something in me reacting already, and I didn't want it showing. Nobody mentioned the folder. Not yet. Then my mother cleared her throat.
That specific sound. I knew it. It meant something rehearsed was about to happen. She started talking about family, responsibility, love, how we take care of each other. Her voice was soft, but not natural soft. Shaped soft. My chest tightened more with every sentence, even though I kept my face neutral. Then my sister leaned in. "Helena," she said gently, "you're the only one who can actually help us." She touched my hand. I let her. Didn't hold back, didn't respond, just let it happen. Everything in me went quiet for a second. Not the room, me. "I need to understand what exactly you're asking," I said. Even I noticed how calm I sounded, almost too calm. That's when the room changed slightly. Not obvious, just enough. My mother's softness faded, replaced by something firmer, practical. She started listing things I had been given, help I had received, sacrifices they had made. Each sentence carefully stepping closer to the point without actually saying it. I didn't interrupt, but I could feel the shape of it now. When I asked to see the document, my sister moved too fast, like she'd been waiting for that exact sentence. She slid the folder over. I opened it. First page looked harmless, almost sweet. Words like gift, love, family, carefully chosen to soften whatever came after. I read slowly, not because I needed to understand it, but because I wanted them to sit in the silence a little longer. Second page. Third. The language shifted, slowly at first, then clearly. Conditions, authority, control dressed up in legal formatting. My fingers went still without me noticing, and then I saw it. Medical decision-making clauses, communication control, legal authority structure, cleanly written, almost polite, but not harmless. Something old in me reacted before I could stop it, a memory I don't like revisiting. Being spoken about instead of spoken to. Decisions already made before I even entered the room. I closed the folder. Not hard, just gently. The sound felt louder than it should have. Nobody spoke. They were waiting. I placed my hands flat on the table because I knew if I didn't, they'd shake. "I understand it," I said. My mother visibly relaxed. My sister leaned forward slightly, hope showing too quickly. Then I added, "I'm not signing it." That's when the air changed properly. Not dramatic, just heavier.
My mother's face went still. My sister's hurt came first, then something sharper underneath it. "I'm not refusing to help," I said quietly. "I'm refusing to be controlled." No raising my voice, no performance, just final. I stood up, left the folder exactly where it was, like I didn't want it in my hands any more than necessary. Nobody stopped me. Nobody followed. And that was somehow the clearest answer I got all night. I walked out into the evening air, and it felt colder than I expected. Behind me, the house still looked warm, still perfect, still pretending nothing had changed. My phone buzzed before I even reached the car. A message from my aunt. "Don't sign anything. They've already filed paperwork." This wasn't a request, Helena. It was a test of whether you'd agree afterward. I just stood there for a moment, looking at the screen. So that was it. Not a discussion, not a decision. A process already moving without me. Inside the house, no one came out. No one called my name. And for the first time that evening, I realized something very simple. They hadn't been asking for my help. They were trying to make sure I stopped being someone who could say no.